I think most of you would have started your progress of risk assessment. You might have seen different parts. There are total 4 parts. So we'll see one by one. Okay, so these are the 4 parts, which I said background. Basically, you have to write, background of your company or the place where you're working. You need to give a detailed description of the organization where you're working. Okay, then you have to do the risk assessment, which we will go through. Then after that, hazard prioritization. Okay, so from the risk assessment, you have to pick out one hazard which you feel that is most important, or the prioritized one which needs management attention. Okay, so you will pull out from this. Then after that, how you're going to communicate, how you're going to check whether your controls are effective, how you're going to review the risk assessment. And this we will cover in part 4. Okay. Right. So if you take the location, you must carry out the risk assessment, preferably based on your workplace. Okay, if you're a fresher, if you don't have work experience, then what you can do is you can select any site. You can take any construction, you can take hospital, you can take shopping mall, okay, or you can take airports, you can take railway station or a warehouse, anything you can take. Okay, but if you're working in any organization, even though if you don't have health and safety experience, if you have work experience, then you can select your own organization to conduct the risk assessment. Based on your place, your workplace, you can identify the hazards, you can identify the risks, the risk level, and it'll be easy for you to complete the risk assessment as well. Okay, so you all have been provided with the template, which is given by NEBOSH to complete the risk assessment as part of your GIC2, right? So do you know how many marks you need to get? You have to get minimum 60 out of 100. You have to score 60 marks to pass GIC2. If you get below that, then it'll be marked as refer, and then you have to reset the unit again. Okay, marks are awarded for each part. Okay. So we will start with the first section, background. The first section is background, so we will go with the first section. Okay, they're expecting you in section 1.1. First, you have to write the name of the organization which you're choosing for the risk assessment. You can, if you don't want to reveal the name of the organization, then you can give XYZ. You can give ABC. That's not an issue, right? Okay, so on the right side, go through the guidance. Okay, I'm just showing you the guidance. I will quickly go on through the important topics. On the right side, you can go through the marks. How much marks allotted for each section? You will get a detailed information over here. Okay, then if you go to section 1.2, the site location, where the site is located exactly. For example, if it is in New Delhi, Noida, Delhi, you can mention, or if it is located in Bangalore, you can just mention, JP Nagar, Bangalore, or you can mention any location which is there. Or if it is in Chennai, then you can mention Adyar, Chennai. Or if it is in UAE, then you can mention Sharjah. Or if it is in Dubai, then you can mention any location where the site is located exactly. See, the site chosen by you may be different from your head office location. Okay, your head office may be located in a different place, but you are working in a different site. So you are going to do the risk assessment from your site, which is not head office. So write the location of the site which you are choosing for the risk assessment. Okay, then if you come to 1.3, a brief description of the organization they're asking you to write, which carries 1 mark. If you see on the right side, it carries 1 mark. So you need to provide a detailed information about your organization. For example, what all the work activities carried out? Okay, what is your job profile? What is your business profile? Basically, you can think about whether they're a construction company, means what type of construction activities are going on there. Okay, whether it is residential construction activities, or whether they are constructing any villas, or whether they are constructing any apartments. Okay, what kind of activities, or road infrastructure. Okay, or if you are writing about any shopping complex, malls. So give a detailed information what all the work activity is going on. If it is a manufacturing company, then give a detailed description of what all the products you manufacture. Okay, and how many shifts you have. You work in a 2 shifts or you work in a 8 hours, 3 shift. Okay, around the clock you work. You can mention the time as well. For example, the first shift starts from 7 to 12 in the noon. Then the second shift, B shift, starts from what time to what time. Then the shift, C shift, starts from what time to what time. You can mention the shift timings as well. Okay, then you can also mention in a week how many days you operate. Okay, for example, Monday to Friday, it's given over there, and how many employees are working. So the 25 site inspectors are home-based and travel around the region to provide site inspection. For this example, they have given different example, I mean, a different the worker category. So for your chosen workplace, you have to mention like how many people are working in total, what are the different category of people involved. For example, you can write project engineer, director, okay, or how many employees, permanent employees are there, how many temporary workers are working in your organization, that you can mention. Okay, that you can mention in 1.4. Okay, then coming to the next section 1.5. Description of the area or process to be included in the risk assessment. So you have a huge site. So from that huge site, which area you're going to particularly selecting for the risk assessment. Okay, for example, you're going to select phase 1, or you're going to select only the warehouse, okay, or the manufacturing unit. So which area you are choosing for risk assessment. So that you have to clearly mention. Okay, if you see the example, a main office building located on an industrial estate, as well as home-based workers. Mainly administration tasks takes place within the building, as well as the use of heavy-duty shredder. Two-story building includes office areas, a kitchen. So this is basically the information, detailed information where you are where you plan to carry out the risk assessment. All right. Okay. Now going to section 1.6. The sources of information that you consulted. To carry out the risk assessment, what all the sources of information you have consulted. Okay, so basically when you do the risk assessment, you might have gone through the different types of the process. One is the documentation. You verify the documents to identify the hazards. Okay, that is the existing document, for example, the safe system of work, or your company's health and safety policy, or it can be the permit to work documents, okay, or standard operating procedures, or your any documents like, for example, your company's leave policy, okay, or your company's accident incident report. So you will, from your organization, what all the documents you refer, then who all the people you consult to gather information about the hazards in the workplace when you carry out the risk assessment. Okay, then after that, externally whom all you consulted. For example, if you have referred any conventions, or if you have referred any website, HSC website, so you can include those details as well. Okay, and also through if you have gathered information physically by walking around inside the workplace, then you can include that. So that's why they have given 3 marks for you. So one is like physical observation, one is documentation, and one is consultation with your workplace. So you have to cover all the 3 areas over here. Going to the next one, 1.7, how hazards are identified. So here you must clearly explain how you identified the hazard, whether you did a workplace inspection, okay, or whether you consulted with your employees, okay, through, or you whether you verified the documents, so that you can discuss over here in 1.6 and 1.7. And I'm going to the next the important topic, risk assessment, your section 2. So section 2, 2.1, hazard categories. So hazard categories, right? Hazard categories, basically you have to refer this table. If you see this table, these are the hazard categories. So you have to choose minimum 5 hazard categories from this. Okay. So, for example, in your risk assessment template, they ask you to write 10 10 hazard categories and 10 hazards which you identified in your workplace you have to write. So minimum you have to cover 5 hazard categories from this table. Got it? So what I suggest is, so you can take one topic. So you can take noise from element 5. Then you can take, work-related upper limb disorder from element 6. From each element, you can take one topic. So easily you can cover around the 7 hazard categories. Then apart from that, you can cover any of the topics. But make sure that your hazard categories are chosen only from this.
Sir, sorry for interruption. This is
Yeah,
Muhammad
please.
Ali with you.
Yes,
From this
General.
table, I took 20 out of 10 hazards.
Okay, that's fine. But make sure that those are all from this table itself. Do not go something beyond
Yes,
it.
yes.
For
From the
example,
table itself. No. Not sir.
yeah,
From
okay.
the
So
table itself.
yes, one example what I can tell you is, for example, if you take excavation. Okay,
Yes.
excavation is not there in the table, but if you write hazard category as excavation, then the examiner cannot award marks to you because the excavation itself
No,
not there
I
in the
did.
table.
I didn't take. I choose from this table. 20
Okay.
out of 10.
All right. So generally, I'm telling make sure that
Thank you, sir.
you take only from this table. Do not go anything out of this table. Is that clear? Okay. Now let's see what NEBOSH says. For choosing 5 different hazard categories, you will get one mark each. So that means you will get 5 marks easily. You can get it. Okay, when identifying hazards to review your risk assessment, you must ensure that identified hazards from 5 different hazard categories. The examiner will check that you have covered at least 5 different hazard categories. You can identify multiple hazards from the same hazard category as well. Okay, for example, if you take noise, this is one hazard category. Noise, you can write noise hazard from the generator. You can write noise hazard which is coming from the powered tools. That also you can write. Okay, but make sure that minimum you cover 5 hazard category. Then when conducting a risk assessment within the workplace, you should select a range of hazards from across the hazard categories in order to demonstrate your breadth of knowledge of the syllabus. So they're asking you to select a range of hazard categories. So you can select one hazard category from this table that covers maximum. So the hazard categories are based on element 5 to 11 of the syllabus under as follows. So what I personally recommend is select one hazard category first from each element. For example, element 5, you select one. Okay, so element 5, if you take noise or vibration or radiation, mental ill health, violence at work, substance abuse at work, these comes under element 5. So select one first. So similarly, go for element 6. Similarly, go for element 7, element 8. So 7 elements, you will have 7 hazard category you would have covered. Then 3 take from, again, repeated one, whichever that is applicable in your workplace, you can take it. Okay, and the next one, section 2.2, hazard description. Okay, first you wrote hazard category, then below that you have to write hazard description. So you have to clearly write what is the hazard. Okay, you have to describe the hazard so that the examiner will understand what is the hazard that is there in your workplace, because the workplace, the examiner may not be familiar with your workplace. So you have to clearly explain the examiner what the hazard is. Okay, for example, if you write work at height has hazard category and hazard, if you mention fall from height, the examiner will not be able to award marks to you because the hazard is not clearly described. Okay, so you have to clearly explain him what work is going on, how the worker may fall from height. Okay, so you have to give a clear description so that the examiner will understand what is happening in your site and he will be able to award marks to you. Okay, no marks will be awarded where it is not specified what makes an item or process hazardous. That is window cleaning, which I told you. If you say fall from height, then it does not it does not provide any clear picture of it. Okay. Now coming to the next one, 2.3, who might be harmed? So in this the section, you have to write who is going to get affected. Do not generally write workers. Do not generally write the contractors. Clearly mention the designation. Is it clear? If you say, it's a cleaner, then you mention the cleaning workers. If it is like a supervisor, then you mention a project supervisor. Okay. If it is an operator, then mention a crane operator. If it is a machine operator, then you mention this particular machine operator. Okay. So clearly mention their designation. Do not generally write workers. Right. Okay. If visitor means, then you can generally write visitors, not an issue. Okay. Now going to the next one, 2.4, how they could be harmed. Here again, you have to clearly give a description how the employees or the workers or visitors might be harmed. Okay. What activity they are doing. This is like you write the hazardous event, what hazardous event is taking place, what they're actually doing, how it could cause harm. For example, if you write facility manager falling from height, causing bruising and fractures, workers and visitors being struck by falling object when walking near or under the ladder. So you have to give a clear picture of how it is going to cause harm. So they will not be able to award marks to you if where an individual or group are named without also stating how they could be harmed by the hazard. So when you're writing, make sure that who is falling. Okay, if you say noise, the operator who failed to wear a earmuff exposed to high level of noise can cause hearing damage, can affect his hearing damage, can affect his hearing capability. So you have to mention the particular designation, the particular employee who is going to get affected. That also you have to mention like this. Facilities manager falling from height. Workers and visitors who are working beneath. Okay, section 2.4 is clear now. Section 2.5. What are you already doing to control the risks? What further actions do you need to take to control the risk? So what you are doing already, these are the existing control measures which you currently have in your workplace. Okay, so just we will see the marks breakdown also. So for this section, at present, currently, what are the control measures you have in your workplace? So write those control measures. Okay, do not write one control measure. Try to write at least 3, 4 control measures, existing control measures over here. Then, if you see example, communication sent to workers when cleaning is taking place, or if you have given standard operating procedures, if you have given training to your employees, you can mention worker type training given to the employees, to the workers. Next section 2.6, who needs to carry out the action? Okay, so yeah, so in this section 2.5, you have to write what further actions also required do you need to take to control the risk. So you have given existing control measures and further control measures, what are all required. When you are writing the further control measures, always follow the hierarchy of controls. Is it clear? What is hierarchy of control? Elimination, reduction, isolation, engineering controls,
administration control, ingestion controls.
Yes, and finally, personal protective equipment. So write on the same sequence. Try to write the further control measures using hierarchy of controls. Okay, you need to think about the permit, which if it is work at height, then permit is mandatory. But if you fail to write permit, then you may be losing your marks. Okay, so give a lot of attention when you write further control measures. Focus on to the hierarchy of controls. Okay, then the next section, 2.6, who needs to carry out the action? Okay, now whatever the existing control measures you have given, those are all not sufficient. So you give further control measures. Now, who is responsible to carry out these actions? That is the further control measure. So here you have to write again the designation of the workers. For example, manager, okay, the helper, facilities manager, project engineer, project supervisor, like that. Then next one is 2.7, when action is needed. Here I have seen many students, they're getting 0 on this section. Why? Because they are following the old pattern. They write the time frame like 1 week, 2 weeks, 1 month, 2 months. Okay, so NEBOSH, what NEBOSH is expecting here is they're asking you to write immediate, medium term, or long term. For example, based on your existing, further control measures, you have to mention whether this requires immediate attention, whether this requires medium term attention, or whether this requires long term. Okay, how you give the time frame. Okay, when this action needs to be completed. Okay, for example, the fire exit emergency is blocked. So how much time do you require? You may require a few days. So in that case, what we do is we write immediate. Okay, or you want to carry out some maintenance work for the machinery, so which may take few weeks or to few months. So in that case, it is medium term. Okay, long term. Actions that are planned and executed over several months to years and may involve significant changes to process, infrastructure, or culture. For example, you want to carry out a maintenance for storage tank. Okay, that will be planned once in a year. So this can be long term. So you need to write whether it is immediate, medium, or long term. And when you select this action, immediate, medium, or long term, it should be proportionate to the your further control measures. Got it? For the fire emergency escape route blocked, and if you say long term, then you will not be awarded with marks. If you write medium term, then you will not be awarded with marks because that needs an immediate attention. That can be done within 1 or 2 days. It don't require a few weeks. It don't require a few months to complete it. So you can do it immediately, right? So this is how you write 2.7. Okay, I think most of you would have completed this. This is an example over here. You can just go through the example. They have written hazard category. It is working at height. Hazard description, they have clearly mentioned facilities manager seen climbing a ladder in order to clean windows. Okay, so he is climbing the ladder. There is a possibility of falling from height. So here they've mentioned who might be harmed. Facilities manager falling from height, causing bruise and fractures. Workers and visitors being struck by the falling object when walking under the ladder. Okay, what you're doing already, communication sent, wearing signage, warning signage used at the base of the ladder. What further controls you need? See, for you to understand, they've given information which is in limited number. Okay, we'll see the marks because according to the marks, you have to write over here. Do not write only 2 further control measures. I said follow the hierarchy. Okay, write a minimum 5 to 7 further control measures. Right, because you don't have negative marks here. And then write facilities manager or supervisor or safety officer, then you can write. Then based on the further control measures, you will decide whether it is immediate, medium term, or long term. Is that clear? Okay, now going to the next section, hazard prioritization. Okay, so 3.1. Here also I have seen many students that they are getting 0. They come and say, sir, I've written the project, but I didn't get marks. This entire area has been given with a 0 and it is not marked as well. Okay, so for this, the main reason is they are not either prioritizing the hazard or they are not writing the information which is from the risk assessment table. They may be bringing a new hazard which is not there in the risk assessment table. Okay, so 3.1, always remember you have to bring the hazard from the risk assessment table, which is from section 2. Is that clear? Whatever hazards you wrote in risk assessment table, you have to prioritize which needs management attention. Okay, so select one and then you bring that hazard to this section 3.1. So if you don't write this 3.1 correctly, then the subsequent sections will not be marked. The entire section 3 will not be marked. You will get 0 on all the areas. Section 3.10 means 3.2, 3.3, 3.4, 3.5, everything comes 0. They will not mark. Okay, no, not awarded marks, but should not be included for competence of the assessment. Okay, so you have to bring no marks awarded would be awarded for the entirety of the section 3 if a new hazard is introduced, as this would mean that a key hazard is missing from your risk assessment. Okay, so you have to bring down the hazard from your part 2 risk assessment table. If you write only hazard category, then they will not be able to award marks. So you have to write the hazard category along with the hazard which you wrote in your risk assessment table part 2. Okay, so it should be exactly what you wrote there should come over here. Do not bring anything new which is not there in the risk assessment table. This is most important. Keep it in your mind. Okay, then section 3.2, legal reasons for prioritizing this hazard. Important note, International General Certificate learners should reference appropriate international legislations, conventions, recommendations, and standards included in the International General Certificate syllabus. For this, what I suggest is, okay, here they have given HASAWA, Health and Safety at Work, etc. Act. So you can take that, or you can take ILO conventions and recommendations, which are there in your GIC1. You can take from that. Okay, so mention which convention you are taking, the convention number, section, subsection, everything, mention it clearly. Okay, if you're writing something about construction means, then ILO convention C167, then take the subsection. If you're writing about work at height, what the subsection, take that subsection and clearly mention what the loss is. Do not copy paste anything from the legal document. Okay, you understand what the loss is and mention it over here. This is what the loss is. This is what the company has breached. So just give the detailed information about what the legal requirements are. Then going to 3.3, moral reasons for prioritizing the hazard. Moral reasons, we have covered in element 1 itself. Okay, the moral reason, legal reason, and financial reason that we have covered it. So moral reason, basically, you need to mention like how the individual is going to get affected, how the family members are going to get affected, okay, morally, how their friends and family are going to get affected, and what are the moral duties of the employer. So those information you can add it over here. Then coming to section 3.4, business or financial reasons for prioritizing this hazard. So what are all the financial reasons? What are all the different costs involved. If they fail to manage health and safety at the workplace, you can think about the cost which your company may incur. You can think about direct cost. You can think about indirect costs. Okay, so you can write it over here. You can give a clear description over here and see the total marks also. You get 2 marks maximum. One for you can write direct cost, one indirect costs you can write, but give little extra examples so that even if something is wrong, then the other one can be awarded with marks. Okay, because as I said, you don't have any negative marks here. Then going to 3.5, general reasons for prioritizing this hazard. So generally, why you selected this particular hazard. So you have to give justification over here. So if you see this example, they have given it as important. This hazard is prioritized as currently the control measures are inadequate. So generally, why did you select this hazard? Okay, you can think that the risk level is more. There are a number of employees are getting affected. Frequently, the accidents are happening in this area or because of this particular hazard. So you can mention like that and cover this area. And maximum, you've got 4 marks. So make sure that you write 4 different points. That is, you justify with 4 different points to make sure that why did you select this hazard. And next, coming to 3.6, how would further action help to reduce the associated risks? Okay, so you have given control measures, right? You have given around 5 to 7 control measures based on the hierarchy of controls. So how they are going to be effective in reducing the level of risk? How they can reduce the risk level over here? So here also you have maximum 4 marks. So you have to give again different reasons. Okay, so the control measures, how they are effective in controlling the hazards. So you have to give justification. If you see for the facilities manager seen climbing a ladder here in order to clean the window, For this, what they have done is specialist contractors will be more experienced and competent to carry out the work safely, which will reduce the risk of likelihood of falling from height incident occurring. So you can think about the likelihood, you can think about the consequences. How your further control measures are going to reduce the likelihood, how your further control measures are going to reduce the consequences, or both. You can think about that, but try to cover around 4 points, 4 to 5 points to gain more marks over here. Then coming to 3.7, how would you check that the actions carried out have been effective? So how you will check? How we will check? So here they've given example, undertake appropriate contractor management to ensure external contractors are abiding by agreed method and working safely. Okay, so you are just cross-checking whether your control measures, your further controls are effective or not. So what you can do is you can monitor how you're going to monitor. Okay, how you're going to carry out the checks to check whether your controls are effective. All right, so you can conduct training to your employees. Then followed by the training, you will monitor whether they are implementing whatever they learned during the training. Okay, that can be included over here. For example, I'm telling, but don't repeat the same thing because that becomes malpractice again. Then coming to the last section 4.1, how would the significant findings of the risk assessment be communicated within your organization? So how we are going to communicate the significant findings of the risk assessment? Communication, we have discussed in element 3, the different types of communication. You remember? Written communication, graphic communication, verbal communication. So which methodology you are going to use and how you are going to communicate to your employees, to your workers. Okay, so 1 mark per communication method. Okay, maximum 2 marks. So you have to select 2 different types of communication method. One can be sending emails, written communication. One can be like a graphic communication. So out of 3 methods we have, you have to choose 2 at least. 1 mark for stating who will be communicated with. So total you have 3 marks for this section. Okay, and 4.2, how would you check that the actions on the risk assessment have been carried out? Okay, so here if you see the example, include the risk assessment in the fortnightly managers meeting action log to maintain visibility at management level to ensure actions are closed out. Basically, this is like how you're going to monitor. Okay, to make sure that the actions are closed out, because you have given some control measures, you allocated to some responsible person in your organization, and you want to check whether those actions are being closed out or not. So you can conduct a direct meeting with the responsible person. You can send an email to check, okay, or you can have a fortnightly meetings with your team members or the managers to check the status, okay, whether the actions are closed out or not. If not closed out, what you're going to do next? Even that also you can explain it over here. So here also total 2 marks. So 1 mark per method, which so minimum you have to write 2, but maximum I suggest you to go with 3. Then the next section is 4.3. When would you review the risk assessment? So here they're asking you to write the realistic date. Okay, do not write 1 year, do not write 6 months, 3 months. Don't write over here. Here you have to write a date. Okay. For example, if you're carrying out the risk assessment today, which you have wrote in your part 2 of the risk assessment, then from that date, if it is 6 months, calculate the date. If it is 1 year, calculate the date. Okay. Then you have to give a justification in 4.4 why that review period date has been chosen. Why did you choose 6 months date? So here you have to write the date. Do not write 6 months, do not write 3 months, do not write 1 year. Write the exact date. Okay, the date when you wish to review the risk assessment. For example, I'm conducting the risk assessment today, 17th of August 2026, and I want to review my risk assessment after 1 year because my company policy says that every year it has to be reviewed. So what I will do is my next review date will be 16th of August 2027. Okay, and the reason, what reason I'm going to mention it over here. My company policy states that the risk assessment has to be reviewed annually. Okay, so I'm going to give the reason over here, which is as per my company policy, the risk assessment reviewed annually. So the next review falls on next year. So this is how you complete your part 4.4. Okay, now we'll see the template which is given by NEBOSH. Okay, can you see this?
Not clear, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. So now you can able to see. So these are the sections we were discussing, 1.1, 1.2. So here you can give the description and marks, whatever the marks which are allocated, it's shown over here in the bracket. Is that clear? Okay, so here you will be writing the date of risk assessment when you carried out the risk assessment. Then you will start doing the risk assessment table. That is part 2. Okay, they have given a clear information like 2.1, how many marks you get, 2.2, how many marks you get, and 2.3, how many marks. So keep the marks in your mind, and then accordingly you can give
Sir,
the
where is the date we need to put?
here when you are carrying out the risk assessment, the date of risk assessment. Okay, review date.
Yes.
Review date comes over here. When you would review the risk assessment, here you have to write the date. Do not write 1 month, 6 months, 3 months, 1 year. Okay, write the exact date when you wish to review, and for that, the chosen date, you have to give the description.
In
Right.
my template, there is no risk assessment date is available here.
This I downloaded from NEBOSH. Can you share your screen? I will go through it. Okay, so I'm going to stop the recording now. Then we will discuss about your doubts.
Okay, sir. Section 2, right? Section 2. Yes. Okay, sir. Okay, sir. I'll now.